Hello, everybody, and welcome to the latest episode of Mystery Unsolved. I am, of course, your host, Justin Bienvenu, and one thing I am going to try my very best to do tonight is just not go completely off the rails, go off topic, and make this episode seem like it's messy, like the last two kind of came off. At least that's the way I felt. I don't know about anybody else watching it, but I think this is pretty smooth. I think this will go pretty smooth, pretty clean, and pretty well. So, again, welcome to the latest episode of Mystery Unsolved. In tonight's episode, we will be talking about the mysterious death of actress Natalie Wood. This is a topic that has definitely been talked about since it happened almost over 40 years ago. So, another good topic that I also happened to come across when watching BuzzFeed Unsolved. So, definitely should be good. So yeah, let us begin with the mysterious death of Natalie Wood. Now, for all you millennials out there who don't know who Natalie Wood was, you are missing out. Who was Natalie Wood? She was an actress born on July 20th, 1938, in San Francisco to Russian immigrants. One of her first roles was at the age of 8 in the movie Miracle on 34th Street. She started, she started off as a child actor, of course, as I just said. She's also won 4 Golden Globes and 3 Academy Awards. She starred in such films as Rebel Without a Cause with James Dean, 1955, West Side Story, Gypsy, and Splendor in the Grass. Splendor in the Grass was one of her most well-known films, and she, of course, won an Academy Award for that. She died on November 29th, 1981, by drowning off of the Santa Catalina Island while on vacation with husband Robert Wagner and actor Christopher Walken, whom she was making a film with. The movie, her last film, Brainstorm, which was also with Christopher Walken, was released posthumously after her death in 1983. Okay, before I go any further, I'm sorry, I'm not going to just beat around the bush here. Because I'm bringing up and referencing Christopher Walken, I am at some point, at times, going to do my either good or bad Christopher Walken impression because that's just what you do when you bring up Christopher Walken. So yeah, I don't know how I'm not Bradley Cooper or Kevin Pollak by any means. They do a mean Christopher Walken impression, but I am gonna just throw it out there that I am gonna attempt it through this video. So just be on the lookout for that. It's crazy. All right. Days leading up to her death. She was on vacation on Robert Wagner's yacht, Splendor, along with Wagner, Christopher Walken, and the captain Dennis Deverne. So again, I didn't write this part down, but it's worth noting that Natalie Wood, of course, was married to actor Robert Wagner. But this particular time was actually their second marriage. They had actually married before, divorced. Wood actually married another person, divorced him, and then she reconciled and got back with Robert Wagner, and they married. Crazy about each other. One of those on and off again relationships. So they're on Wagner's yacht, the Splendor, during vacation. So they pretty much, Wood and Christopher Walken have pretty much made the film. Well, they're in the production of the film Brainstorm. And with their time off, Wood invites Walken, who I suppose was more friends with Wood than he was Robert Wagner. But so they're all on vacation together. Wood has a deadly fear of water that traces all the way back to her having a dream as a child that she would drown. So keep that in mind. What's unknown are the events that led to her drowning and the events that took place prior to her body being found. She got into the water to begin with. So when her body was found, of course, the biggest mystery was how did she get there? They knew she was deadly afraid of water. They knew she didn't like it. And yet, the very thing that she didn't like, she was found in dead. So, big mystery there. Captain Dennis DeVerne claimed he saw Wood and Wagner arguing earlier in the evening, but at the time, Wagner denied it. So the captain said, "Yeah, I saw them fighting early in the evening," and Wagner just flat out said, "Didn't happen." However, Wagner would later admit to this argument years later in his memoir. So they didn't specify the year, but yeah, years later, Robert Wagner is just kind of like, yeah, that argument that supposedly didn't happen, yeah, and maybe it happened, but that's all it was an argument. Upon her death, her body was recovered by authorities at 8 a.m. on the morning of November 29th. The autopsy report revealed that she had bruises on her body and arms, as well as an abrasion on her left cheek, but no indication as to how or when the injuries occurred. Wood was particularly susceptible to bruising because she had taken the drug Synthroid, as claimed by a forensic pathologist. The autopsy found that Wood's blood alcohol content was 0.14 and that there were traces of motion sickness pill and a painkiller in her bloodstream, both of which increased the effects of alcohol. A coroner ruled the cause of her death to be accidental drowning and hypothermia. So there's one theory by somebody reputable, I would say. Two witnesses who were on a nearby boat stated that they had heard a woman scream for help during the night. Interesting. Hmm. The case was reopened in November 2011 after Dennis DeVerne admitted that he had lied to police during the initial investigation that Wood and Wagner had an argument that evening. So I had said that this is exactly how I read it. DeVerne claimed that he saw Natalie Wood and Robert Wagner having an argument. Robert Wagner denied it. But yet, at some point, I think he may have retracted his statement because now later on it says that DeVerne admitted that he lied to police during the initial investigation and that he had seen the argument. So obviously I said that the first time, so I'm not really sure. I'm assuming at some point he retracted his statement. That's what that means. He goes further into detail and says that he alleged that Wood had been flirting with Christopher Walken, and that Wagner was jealous and enraged, and that Wagner had prevented DeVerne from turning on the searchlight and notifying authorities after Wood's disappearance. Well, that's a little enlightening, shall we say? So basically, again, the captain, Dennis DeVerne, is pretty much saying that he knows that Natalie Wood was flirting with Christopher Walken. Hey, and that Wagner was jealous. You have nothing to worry about with me and Natty. And that Wagner was jealous and enraged. That Wagner prevented DeVerne from turning on the searchlights and notifying authorities after Wood's disappearance. That's a little suspicious right there. DeVerne alleged that Wagner was responsible for her death. So, flat out, right after he says that, he's like, yeah, I think Robert killed her. Walken was hired a lawyer. Yeah. Sorry, this the way it's worded. Walken hired a lawyer, cooperated with the investigation, and not considered a suspect. I didn't do it. However, Bobby, I'm not sure about. I told you it might be good, it might be bad. I'm not really sure how it's coming off. All right, the theories. I'm pretty sure you know where this is going. Theory number one, she was drunk, fell into the water, and drowned. Robert Wagner killed her. Christopher Walken killed her. Dennis DeVerne killed her. All right, so for the first time in weeks, I've actually given you four theories. I've stated them, and now I'm going to get into the good stuff and, give you my opinions and theorize here as to what theories are possible and which I don't think are. The first one, she was drunk, fell in the water, and drowned. Yeah, I mean, this is what it probably states on her autopsy, and it's also worth noting that in 2012, in yeah, in 2012, they actually changed her autopsy report to say that she had drowned in other unknown events. Like, what the hell does that mean? If someone drowned, they drown. Like, how can you add unknown, unexplainable events? So again, she was drunk, fell in the water, and drowned. Okay, she did have a lot of. She had drugs in her system too. Is it possible that she fell into the water and drowned? Absolutely. It would explain how the two people that were on another nearby boat said they heard a woman screaming. But it doesn't really explain how Robert Wagner and Christopher Walken slept soundly on the boat that she was near as she was drowning. That doesn't really add up. But again, being drunk and on pain-killing drugs and whatever else is in your system, definitely a possibility. Robert Wagner killed her. According to what the captain said, Captain Dennis DeVerne, of course, maybe he had, before I get to that, according to his statement, Robert Wagner killed her because he was jealous of the flirtation between Wood and Christopher Walken. And this is possible. My only question here is, did the captain have any beef or ill feelings towards Robert Wagner? I mean, he was the captain of Wagner's ship. I imagine they must have been friends. Maybe they weren't. Maybe they were just he just hired them. Maybe they were acquaintances. I don't know. Basically, what's if Wagner doesn't kill her, then why is Dennis DeVerne saying that he did? Like, what does he have to gain here? He must have seen or heard something. So this, I think, is also possible. I think if Wagner didn't intentionally kill her, I think, yeah, maybe I think it's possible that he intentionally killed her. He by all means intended to. Or maybe he at least had a part. Like if she fell into the water and Wagner knew she fell into the water because he heard it, but just didn't do anything. Also a possibility. Christopher Walken killed her. Well, we know this one's not true because he hired a lawyer, he was cooperative, and he wasn't even considered a suspect, which is probably a good thing because yeah, I didn't do it. It's crazy that they would think that I did. All right, I'm sorry. That's the last impression of Christopher Walken that I do for this video. But yeah, so he wasn't a spec. Nothing to worry about there. Dennis DeVerne killed her. Now, this was not listed at all on the article that I read. However, I do remember watching a documentary because, of course, that's what I do, and it was suggested that at some point during the evening, Natalie Wood was on shore with Captain Dennis DeVerne, and they were flirting. Now, wait a minute. Now this is starting to make sense. What if DeVerne killed Natalie Wood because he wanted her for himself, and he decided to place the blame on Robert Wagner because it would make more sense if people had thought that he did it. Now, of course, this was only in one documentary that I had seen. Now, conflicting reports will tell you, of course, that Wood and DeVerne never flirted. But this documentary says otherwise. So, did they or didn't they? I don't know. There was only one source. At least two sources, of course, confirmed her being drunk, Wagner being involved, DeVerne saying Wagner was involved, and that Christopher Walken's totally clean. I went against my word. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I couldn't help it. Oh, God. All right. So, before we wrap this up, to go over it one more time. She was drunk, fell in the water, and drowned. Yes, I suppose it's possible. Robert Wagner killed her. Yes, or he at least knew she was drowning and didn't do a goddamn thing. Christopher Walken killed her. Didn't happen, and Dennis DeVerne killed her. Definitely a underrated possibility in theory that no one probably suggests even to this day. Um, final note also worth noting, in 2018, the case was actually reopened and Robert Wagner was considered a suspect. So he was already considered a suspect, but they opened it years later, 2018, and they're like, listen, we have a bunch of evidence. We think you did it. Let's come in for questioning so we can resolve this once and for all. And once again, conflicting reports prior to what he said, but nothing to really go on. They really just couldn't say that he did it otherwise. So unfortunately, that is why this case remains unsolved, even though we have the autopsy of drowning and unexplainable events, which just makes no sense to me. But yeah, nobody watched this, which is rare. Usually I have one or two people. But yeah, hopefully those who watch this in the playback, you will enjoy it. This has been the latest Mystery Unsolved episode, and stay tuned next Friday for a special. Ooh, that's right, it's a special, as I will be talking about the mysterious disappearance of musician Jim Sullivan. So again, this has been the Mystery Unsolved episode, the mysterious death of Natalie Wood. And until next week, thank you for watching.